Let me go ahead and punch in Simon. Hey, Simon, how you doing?
Greetings. Great to see you,
Hey,
Jeff, and greetings to all those who are watching.
great. So Simon is our so much, but Simon, we've already been talking about Simon. He's in Germany, and so we're
Mhm.
going international here. Simon, what is it like 5 o'clock your time? Almost 6 o'clock.
Yeah, it's late in the evening and it's a long day past me so far.
Yes. Well, I hope your Tuesday. I think today's Tuesday. I hope Tuesday worked out for you. I'm full confession here. Um, and I said this earlier. I'm not supposed to do this interview. I was supposed to be on a break. And
Mhm.
Andy Mage was working this, and was I'm supposed to be out having lunch and having a bio break, and so I'm fine. Like it's I can keep rolling. Andy got sick and just has been disconnected through it. God bless him. Andy is our community director and technical aspects, and he's been a huge asset to the church digital overall. A good friend of mine over the years, but and so I'm going to jump into this interview with my friend Simon to talk about all the stuff that's happening in Europe. And so,
Mm.
Simon, I don't know, man. We could. I want to talk about your digital church, Beta Church. I want to talk about Cloud Kirsch. I hope I said that right. Your church network
Mm.
that's in Germany. I want to talk about the outpost that we're starting. You're leading the EDM. Like there's just so much. I said earlier that of all the continents right now that we're working with, I really feel like Europe for the Church Digital Europe is the most organized. And really you're the reason why, because you've caught into this vision of digital, not just building it for yourself, but really starting to resource and multiply others and
Mm.
letting the idea spread.
Mm.
Man, I really could just talk about anything, but let's just start off. Maybe tell us a little bit of yourself. Tell us your story.
Yes, I'd love to do so. So I love to introduce myself as a pastor and a nerd because that's the two parts that have largely shaped my life. I've been in informatics as a programmer for something like 20 years, having an own company, working for many companies. Then got called by God into full-time mission, became a pastor, have been a pastor of a local church, very international church here in Germany. And for now, 8 years, I'm with a German mission agency. And for 1 year, I've got the big opportunity of starting a region digital within our mission agency. So that's a lot about me. I'm 43, got two kids at home who are looking forward to me coming for them, and whose my son's birthday we just celebrated the past week. So that's a little bit about Simon. Yeah.
Awesome. What you can't tell about Simon is, and he's German, and they're on the metric system.
Mm.
So I
Mm.
could ask him how tall he is, and he'd tell me some number that I don't understand. But dude's like I'm 6 foot, and he's probably 6'6", 6'7". Like he's the one guy I've had Simon. I've known you since 2021. Like we've had
Yeah, something like
conversations
that.
off and
Mm.
on digitally, all online,
Mm.
and I got to meet him at Lausanne at this
Mm.
congress we were at in Korea, and
Yeah.
it's the first time in my life as a 6 foot person, a big guy, that I'm
Mm.
literally doing this to look the guy in the face. It was earth shattering. And
Yeah.
it is interesting. Like I will say,
Mm.
man, it's awesome to see people physically and to interact
Mm.
with that.
Mm.
As
Mm.
digital missionaries, as digital church planners and pastors, there's an opportunity and there is value in physical. I'm
Mm.
not saying no physical ever, but it's more of it does not have to only be physical, and there's an
Yeah.
opportunity to mix digital and physical into that. So hey, let's and by the way, awesome ultra marathoner, like running ridiculous amounts of miles and kilometers and like just so
Yeah.
much interesting stuff around this guy. But
Mm.
Simon, talk to me a little bit. Like you're starting the beta church experiment, and
Mm.
Cloud Kirsch is this German church network you've started, and now you're
Mm.
through EDM teaching that and starting to work with some other planters, missionaries. We had Trizzle on earlier today
Mm.
from Czech. Um,
Very
like
nice.
what? what's your heart and vision as you look at digital and how that can impact and multiply digitally?
So I would say that I'm really thankful for being in this special point of time, this Kairos moment we experienced through the Corona crisis, that for a moment of time, the whole world learned to live so much more digital when it became so much more regular, and people recognized that doing church digitally, living faith digitally, encountering other people's digitally is different, but not less real. At least not in some regards. So I was really happy to get to become part of Beta Kirche, Beta Church in Germany, which just started during that time. There was a moment when some people were sitting together in a pizzeria and saying, well, if there ever have been a time to start doing digital church, it is just now. And we did that, started a digital church, and now we are running since 2020 for 4 years up to now. And actually, I guess 1.5 weeks ago, we had a first church time together off. So we met in the middle of Germany with people coming from the next countries, from the Netherlands, from the north, from the south, from east of Germany, all getting together. And it was one wonderful experience to hug people you have been with for a couple of years and to experience that, well, there has something been missing and not knowing these people physical, but it has not been as much as I would have thought, because we have had a way together. We have experienced discipleship together. We have had encounters with God together. We did services, digital small groups together. We were planting and playing church together. And it was fascinating how less is missing when you're only meeting digital. So that is my heart: getting people together, starting to think digital ways of ministry, digital evangelism, digital church planting, missions and AI, and so much more things. And I want to invest myself and a lot of my time into getting more people into that space,
Yeah.
especially in Germany and abroad.
I love that, and I love
Mm,
your heart for utilizing digital.
mm,
Trizzle mentioned earlier in the stream that Europe was, and I don't know the stat exactly, but Europe is the his exact quote was Europe is the least Christianized nation or excuse me continent on the planet. Europe is the least
mm,
Christianized continent on the planet, and then he's like, well, Australia beats or Antarctica beats it. I'm tired.
mm.
Antarctica beats it, but evidently,
Yeah.
you can't take penguins to gospel.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point being, you're in a very post-Christian
Mm,
culture and environment there
yeah.
in Germany. What what is the temperature of the
Mm,
physical church? Like, okay, does it still exist? Are there people
mm,
still doing it? Is it true it's the least Christianized? Do you feel that in Germany? Like, talk to me about some of that relationship with the general public and
mm,
the established church that's there.
mm, mm. So you get huge differences culturally and regionally in Europe. So speaking for Germany, that's something we already had talked about last time we were on the podcast together. You got the western part of Germany, where there are I would say that Christianity has more roots in society there, and you got the eastern part of Germany, which classically up to the 1990s have been under Russian dictation, or has been controlled by them, and so under communist worldview influence. And you experience that some parts of Eastern Germany are the statistically least Christian areas of whole of Europe. And then you got whole of Europe. You got countries like Spain or like just we were talking together, like Poland, which have a strong heritage in Catholic Christianity, with a lot of people culturally behaving like Christians, or a lot of people seeing Catholic ways of doing church as the way you are ought to do church. And as well, you got a lot of, especially the Eastern European countries, which have from side of global Christianity suffered a lot under communist reign over decades. So it really, really differs a lot from the area you're working in.
Yeah. So now you're coming in with a different model,
Mm,
utilizing digital.
mm,
Do people recognize the work that you're doing through Beta Church and Cloud Kirsch? Do they recognize it? Cloud Kirsch is Cloud Church in German. Do people
mm,
recognize that as a church digitally? Do they recognize it? Like, what do they see when they see
mm.
what you're trying to do digitally?
It differs. I would say the churchy people say, well, that's not a church. That doesn't work. We tried that. That is something you quoted so many times in different ways. Um, what we are experiencing is that people who have made their way out of church because of making bad experiences with other Christians, or because of life issues, because of having to move somewhere else, they experience digital church um, as a wonderful way of being able to choose how close to get to church, or as the only way to do church online. We also experience people who have nothing to do at all with Christianity, have no idea about it, that digital ways of mission is the one way they get connected to Christians, because in the online bubbles, or in their offline life, they would probably never get close enough to a church or to Christians to hear about the gospel. So both things we're seeing. We got, I think, a lot of skeptics in the classical churches, some because they are afraid that digital will kill the in-place church, some because they just don't know what we are about, some who have theological issues about it. But when you explain it to people, when you tell stories of hope where people find their place in a digital church, or where people get to know Christ through digital ways of ministry, I mainly see that people accept it and that they're encouraged, praying with us, sometimes going with us. Yeah.
Awesome. That's exciting. What are the you're talking about, not a lot of respect from the established church. With what you're doing in Europe, what's the maybe some of the bigger hurdles that you're tackling? One or two.
Hmm. Yeah, I would say the biggest hurdles are just um, is always respect, that this is a real church, or that this is a real missionary. Second thing is always funding, especially for those doing full-time ministry in digital spaces. Yeah, I guess those are always most
Yeah.
important.
And those, I mean, those will be I mean, that's almost copy paste, right? We
Yeah, yeah,
saying
yeah,
that
yeah,
across the board.
yeah,
Respect, understanding that. I said earlier on the interview, pioneers get shot, settlers get rich, and
yeah.
I mean, you're a great example of that,
Mhm.
where you're getting bullets, you're not getting the respect from that. But then funding kind of comes with that. A lot of the pioneering side, we're viewed as countercultural, we're viewed as disruptors. And at some level, it's okay to be like, I'm okay with the term disruptor, but
Yes.
when traditionalist kind of comes in, it's hard to
Mhm, mhm,
disrupt in the church space. Business world, disruption
mhm,
is very profitable. In the church space,
mhm,
disruptors are not.
mhm.
And so, with the go up,
I would say
yeah,
I would say that at some point I see a change in mindset, because, for example, in some of the church covenants here, in church federations here in Germany, I see that the people are seeing, okay, church is on decline. How we will reach the people, and they are open to hear for new ways. So I'm seeing that mindset shift a little bit in terms of what are perspectives for our churches in the future. And they want to learn. That is what I'm experiencing more and more. Churches or individuals wanting to learn how to do ministry in a digital space. And that is
Yeah.
wonderful.
So good. Every little uptick helps. And to be
Mm.
honest, I tell, you've heard me say this, like I'm kind of tired of the fight
Yeah.
in like this space.
Yeah.
I used to really get into it in this, but now it's in the mission field. It's in the digital field. It's judge what's happening off of our fruit, and really
Yeah.
that's been our initiative towards EDM, equipping digital missionaries, the course and the cohort that I know you're leading a group in Europe. I think you met earlier this morning, I believe, with
Just
that
10
group.
minutes ago, actually.
Just 10 minutes ago. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
just a couple minutes ago. Um,
Mm.
Talk a little bit about that. Talk about the cohort, your
Yes.
experience leading that.
Yes.
What's that like?
I love it. I love it very much. So it was really a great moment for me to experience together with UTCD. How many people after the meeting in Seoul wanted to start with EDM? So we're a group of something like 12 to 14 participants from all across Europe, from Iceland up to Turkey and from Portugal up to Romania. Um, Also very different people. Some leading church federations, some doing being content creator or leading communities among musicians and to reach Christian hip hoppers, things like that. Very different, very varying. And it's fascinating to go with them through the basics of what it means to be or become a digital missionary. So for the last and this week, we've been focusing on the topic of not limited by time. How can we do async ministry? What do we have to learn from that? And for today, our discussion was on not limited by space, and we talked about what are the boundaries of the specific space and the specific people group we feel called to, and where do we need to focus that down to really get an idea of what our ministry is. And that was kind of insightful conversation. I'm looking forward to what will come out of the cohort, and also looking forward to contextualizing it further when we got the first beta of it through. Yeah,
Yeah,
so far.
I say all the time, I don't know anything about German culture. And I'm
Hmm.
not, European culture, Eastern, Western. Like there's, I was in Europe when I was a freshman in high school. Like it's been a
Hmm.
minute. 1992, I think, was the last time I
Ooh,
spent any
okay.
time in. You can do math, and it's not pretty.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
and so for me, for the church digital, I can't tell Simon how to do ministry in Germany, but or and Simon in the same way as he's equipping Trizzle in Czech. Like there's a contextualization of that. Trizzle's working in virtual
Yeah,
reality that
yeah.
Simon knows a little bit about, but he's not an expert in that space. And
Oh
so,
no.
no offense, Simon, but the fact is that by teaching a foundation and a framework and then being part of an ongoing conversation to allow these ideas to be contextualized and adapted for the
Mm.
different nationalities, for the different people group cultures, for the different platforms. This is where we're
Yeah.
starting to see this idea multiply out.
Yes.
And we're literally laying the foundation right now.
Mm.
We've already had these conversations with Simon, but we're looking to create an outpost in Germany or excuse me,
Mm.
in Europe, where
Europe.
now
Yeah.
we've got a place to connect all of these people from
Mm.
Europe that are coming in that are thinking different to get resourced. And there's so many stories that I've
Mm.
heard from specifically from Europe who have an idea. The
Mhm.
current pastor doesn't understand. The
Mhm.
denomination isn't or network
Mm.
isn't interested. Friends and spouses don't know how to support because they don't know if the idea is valid. And
Yeah.
they come to me in America and they find me on YouTube or Google and they're like,
Mm.
hey, how do I do this? And to be able to
Mm.
say, let me introduce you to my friend Simon. and have Simon be able to bring them in and help them adapt that within
Mm.
European context, to even contextualize it down to a deeper
Yeah,
nuance. That's
yeah, yeah.
so important. And so the idea for us is to create these decentralized networks in Europe, in the Middle
Mm.
East, in Sub-Saharan South Africa, in Southeast Asia, in Oceania, in Latin South America. Like, and this is not a pipe dream. We're actually laying this foundation now,
Mm.
and to be able to get like the pennies that we're looking for, relatively
Yeah.
speaking, to fund this organization, to allow us to
Mm.
in turn now go on and resource people like Simon and Yatope and Adrian and
Mm.
so many other
Mm.
names that I can rattle off. That's the
Yeah.
desire of the Church Digital. And so the church.digital/give there. And, it's our desire even to fund work that's happening with Simon and some others in the regional space. But we've got to get a foundation in place. I said this earlier. Partner with us.
Yes.
$10 a month, one Starbucks cup of coffee, $20 a month, two Starbucks. Some of
Mm.
you may be in global contexts where, my gosh, $20 is a monthly payment on the house. That's your mortgage payment for a month. Whatever it is, partnering
Mm.
with us gives you the ability to say, hey, I'm going to do something every month. Maybe it's
Yeah.
$3, $2, whatever it is in your the church.digital/give. Apple Pay setup. Apple figure out how to adapt it, but just pay. Consider giving and supporting and
Mm.
partnering us through the Church Digital at a monthly level. Well, Simon, we
Yeah.
went a little long. I apologize. You
Mm.
got maybe 2 more
No
minutes?
problem.
Okay,
Yeah, I
good.
got 2 more minutes. One thing I'd like to point out is we're donating to the Church Digital as well because you are such a valuable partner for us for rolling out globally what we are learning in Germany. And that is what I want to see. I want to see that in all the 35 countries we're working in, that digital ways of mission will be pour out, will come into life. And I see the Church Digital as a great partner to accelerate that for Germany, for Europe, and beyond. So please, I just like to add to what Jeff has just said. Give a donation to let us accelerate digital missions globally. Yeah, I got
Yeah.
2 more minutes.
Very good. Thank you for that. I appreciate. And by the way, we had a board meeting last night for the Church Digital, talking with that group, and I said, I was like, man, Simon is an example of a guy that owns the ministry of the Church Digital. You're
Mm.
you're investing in the trainings, establishing this network, taking our resources and multiplying it and
Mm.
contextualizing it in those areas, even financially supporting
Yeah.
what you're doing through a regular basis. And so, man, it's exciting to see when people, this
Yes.
is not a guilt statement, but it's exciting to see when people are giving back to contributing to what's happening with the Church Digital. I feel like I should say this, and I say this on other
Mm.
streams. I've not made a penny off the Church Digital in 4 or 5 years. Like,
Mm.
it was funny. I used to run like contract jobs through it, but I don't even do that anymore.
Yeah.
And so, like, when I'm like, "Hey, give to the Church Digital," it's not Jeff's salary. Like, and the leadership, to be honest, like they make pennies on the hour for what they're investing in. It's designed to organizationally help this idea spread digitally globally. And so, if you're interested in more of that information, I'm happy to have that conversation offline. But Simon, 2 minutes, 1 minute, two questions.
Mm.
And I've asked this of everybody kind of
Mhm.
coming in. Number one is digital missions, is missions, I'm sorry. I thought I had the question memorized and then I totally butchered it. Can missions be digital?
They are already. The question if we are able to accelerate and support them.
Great answer.
That easy.
Short and to the point. Very
Yeah.
German of you. Man, that was.
Yeah, 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 very true.
Can the church exist digitally?
It already does. The question is if we are able to create spaces and places where people really feel being in digital church. Yeah, like that.
That's beautiful.
Love it.
Hey,
Mm.
man, Simon, thanks for hanging out with us. I think you're
Mhm.
short on time. You're welcome to
Mhm.
stick around. I've got another interview coming in,
Mm.
Anesh, if you've got time to stick. But if you need to bounce, that's great.
Thank you very much. Then have a good and blessed day together.
Awesome. Thank you, Simon. Have a good one.